Hello everyone, welcome. This is the Voice of Eve. Our topic today is the interests of women in the National Conference and Constitutional Reviews. Please stay tuned with us. We will soon be back. Yes, women need to be part of a strategic process that will affect the destiny and future of the nation Nigeria. And this time around, the participation and involvement of women should go beyond mere tokenism because we are mothers of the nation. Our question is, are the special interests of women going to be taken care of? For instance, what can we expect with 3 women only out of 13 in the present membership of the National Conference? We believe that this is our opportunity to bear our minds, and we're not going to be laid back. Please join us as we hear from one of the icons and vanguards of women's special interests. She is Professor Ayo Ashenua. I am Dr. Violet Arene. Welcome back. If you're just joining us for the first time, this is the Voice of Eve. Our topic today is the interests of women in the National Conference and Constitutional Reviews. We are privileged to have with us today in the studio one of the icons and vanguards for the interests of women. She is Professor Ayo Ashenua, Professor of Law. Madam, it's a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure being here too.
Thank you. You are very welcome. You see deep reflection. Can you see it? Deep reflection about the interests of women, even from the representation of women in the present National Conference Committee. Yeah, because we see 3 out of 13.
Well, like you say, clearly there isn't deep reflection. It still looks like it is sufficient to just have women included and not necessarily sufficient number of women included as to suggest that we're fostering equality. You have 3 women out of 13, and that is less than 25%. And clearly, when you look at the National Dialogue Committee, you could not possibly say that there aren't sufficient women. I still cannot fathom why people will consider it odd if you have a committee of 10 women and 3 men. Why not? Why can't it happen? We don't think there's anything odd when we have a committee of 10 men and 3 women. So why can't we actually just pick the best hands, send the message that truly there is equality and everybody lives with it?
Thank you, Madam. Not only that equality issue, but in terms of the percentage of interest, women's interests in the nation strike at the root of the life of the nation as mothers of this nation. Our interests are so critical that we should be in this thing full swing. Yeah, that's what I think. The interests of women, do you believe, like family, youth, women, girl child, security, peace, unity,
economic.
Yes, these are the interests of women. Don't you think that somebody should have been thinking about the participation of women?
Yeah, that's why I actually believe that if you did have a committee that was all women, it would still represent Nigerian interest. Because it's about identity. If Nigerian women are Nigerians, just as you've identified, they embody all the interests that are the interests that we really want to reflect on at the National Conference. Is it about ethnicity? Women are not just women, but they inhabit their ethnic identity and so are able to speak for that identity. You talk about economic disadvantage. Women are the poorer of the poor, so women can actually speak for the poor within the Nigerian society and yet represent them effectively. You talk about those whose voices are excluded from political participation. Women epitomize that. So when you're talking about exclusion, when you're talking about people feeling alienated from full citizenship, women could actually represent every sense of alienation. And then just in this, just the point that you made, then women can speak for the others, especially those who, at least in terms of legal status, are still considered to be minor, but the burden of their care falls on women. We talk about children, but let's even move beyond children. Women bear the burden of care within the family. So whether you talk about children, you talk about the sick, you talk about the aged, so you want to reflect on maybe access to resources, good governance, and you talk about issues of access to quality health. Really, even when women themselves are not sick, they're major stakeholders in access to quality health, because if that fails, they bear the burden of it. You talked about conflict. When you have conflict, women bear the brunt of it. They bear the brunt of being, when you have violent conflict and the men go to war, then the women stay back to take care of the vulnerable. When in the aftermath of the war, the women still pick up the pieces. So really, women have the interest in every single consideration that could be the consideration that is important for the National Conference. And that is why I would say, if you had 10 women, if you had 13 women, just as it was possible in the historical past to have 50 men constitute a constitutional conference and nobody thought they could not speak for Nigerians. We need to get to, why do they think that Nigerian women are less citizens and cannot speak for Nigeria?
That is a question. It's a fundamental misconception which needs to be corrected now. I think the women's point of view have to be recouped. For instance, it's the same error with the Constitution. When the men constituted it, I don't know how many women were there. And now we see so many ambiguities and errors. Like telling us that a woman comes to full age when she is married. So the determination of full age for a woman is marriage, even if she's married at 9. What do you say to that?
Well, you've just said it, the contradictions, and I actually have an academic paper on that issue. There is a constitution that seeks to protect women, and you have a legal framework that seeks to protect children. Then in another breath, you have a constitutional framework that says that a child attains maturity simply because of marriage. And clearly that can be, but you can see that in negotiating the constitution, certain interests. Really, that's what the dialogue is about. That's what the National Conference is. There are competing interests. Nobody denies that. We must come to terms with it. And that is why interest groups, people whose reality or whose realities are affected, are given an opportunity to negotiate, to present their experiences under a historical reality, to share their aspirations for a new reality, and for them to be heard. It's critical, it's important. You can't bear another person's identity. You can't speak for them because you are not them. You don't know how it impacts them. People say to me, the men will speak for, and people say, and I say, no, but you're not me. This is just saying that the way we experience the world is different, and you have to experience it to speak to whether it benefits you or it disadvantages you, because he who wears the shoe or she who wears the shoe knows where it pinches.
Within the time we have, what would you say, in a snapshot, should be the key interests of women in the National Conference and constitutional reviews? Just a few of the key ones.
Well, first I would love to see a constitutional statement that indicates that Nigerian women have full citizenship.
Thank you.
Not partial citizenship,
Not partial.
because of provisions that take away from their full citizenship. I would, in other words, I would want a constitution that validates beyond promising equality, that uses the male measure. It validates the things that are specific to women's interest. In other words, a constitution that goes beyond the fundamental rights provisions to encompass the social, economic, and cultural rights and affirms them as rights, because this is where you can best protect those things that actually affect women's lives. Things like health, education, whether for them or for their children, social security for the aged, for people with disability, for the unemployed, access to resources and things like that. So I would want to see equal participation affirmed by the Constitution as a constitutional right. I would want a constitution that definitely speaks to how the citizenship overrides indigeneity, so that women's citizenship is never compromised. Citizenship becomes the basis of being a Nigerian and a full Nigerian. So I would want a constitution that speaks to that, just as I would want a constitution that speaks to economic, social, and cultural rights, because then that constitution is more likely to guarantee what we call substantive equality as against formal equality. What you have in the Constitution now is just formal equality. It says level playing field, everybody come into it and you're okay. But the reality is it's not level playing field.
The more you look, the less you see.
Historical disadvantage means that you don't have, it's not equal. Customary rules that reduce the citizenship status and the equality status, continue to take away. How do I participate equally as my brother if I am denied inheritance right? My father has 4 houses in Ikoyi, my brothers can get it and use it to leverage access to credit. I can't.
Thank you. I think this one is serious enough. What we are saying in short, we have such a stake that we must be heard.
We must be heard.
We must be heard.
We must be
and
heard.
Women should not lie low, because we have daughters. The future of Nigeria depends on the future of the girl child and women as mothers of the nation.
On women.
On women. Madam, thank you. It's a very serious issue. Thank you for making it as serious as it is.
Thank you very much for having me.
God bless you.
Thank you very much.
You've come with the weight of a professor and you hit the nail at the head.
Thank you very
madam.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure having you. And I know we'll have you again.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Bye.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us for the first time, this is the Voice of Eve. Our topic today is the interest of women in the National Conference and Constitutional Reviews. We are privileged to have with us in the studio today to discuss some of the emergent issues. I have here Mrs. Tochi Opara, barrister at law.
Thank you very much for having me.
Very good, you're very welcome. I have Chinenye Ndefo, ex-banker and social commentator.
I'm pleased to be here.
And I know you fight for women too.
Yes, definitely.
Well, we have one thing in common. All of us, we are women. Welcome, women.
Thank you very much. Thank
All
you.
right. Okay. The apparent levity, Tochi. The apparent levity regarding the full representation of women in serious issues, especially strategic issues, appears to continue. For instance, we heard that it was the military men that formed the 1999 Constitution. And now, are you satisfied with the representation of women in the present National Conference Committee with 3 out of 13?
I will say I am not satisfied. That is my categorical statement, which I'll qualify down the line. I do not understand in a committee, amongst a committee of 13 people, you have just 3 women. Nothing stops them from increasing the number or even making an effort to have it all down the middle. Then, but I also realize that this is an advisory committee.
Yes.
But we hope that this is not a foreshadow of things to come. When eventually the conference takes off, we will have better representation of women. Thank you.
Advisory committee. Can't women give advice?
Well able. They are well able, more than qualified to do that.
What do you think about the heart of women in giving advice?
Women actually are the ones that can give quality advice. I say this because a woman knows what she wants for her children tomorrow. And she can sit down and deliberate over any issue she wants to handle. So women can give more quality advice than men.
I think I
Categorically, yes.
Yes, because we don't have any issues behind the, hidden agenda.
There's no hidden agenda.
All we want is the welfare of our
children.
Everybody. And so I think women can also give good advice. What are some of those aggravating issues, that work against the liberation, full liberation of women and equal opportunity rights in the present constitution?
I will take it from what I consider the pitfalls or insufficiency of the provisions of Section 42, without being legalese, because we realize we have a broad spectrum of women and people who are watching. I think the issue of security for the woman should be paramount. Why do I say so? The woman has got to be first before she becomes. Lately, I have read an upsurge in the cases of rape, domestic violence, female genital mutilation is still there, women trafficking. These all border around the dignity of the woman, the human person. The Constitution says dignity of the human person. If I suffer indignity to my personality, where then is the opportunity for me to become? So first, the woman has got to be allowed to be. So women's gender-based violence has got to be addressed. That's for me a starting point. There are other issues, indigenship, citizenship, which should rule the day. We've had qualified women. They are appointed to key positions in governance. Because the woman is married, she's deemed to come from her husband's place, then her husband's place or state says, oh no, she's an indigent of the state of her birth. So this has got to be addressed. Citizenship should be the sole determinant when you want to consider appointment, not indigenship, citizenship, because the line is blurred as far as I'm concerned. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think it's a mark of civilization to veer away from indigenship. If we're talking about nationalism, what do we have to do with the indigenship? You say Nigerian, not a Nigerian.
A Nigerian is a Nigerian. And if we want to move forward on that line, we have to revisit all the forms we feel we complete for contract, for employment, for admissions into school. They will ask you state of origin. Why not, are you a Nigerian?
If you were supposed to make a presentation today, just now, what are the 2 things you will tell them about review of Constitution in favor of women?
I will deal with the issue of citizenship, like I said before.
Yes.
And then I'd want them to address the question of security. Still, I come back to it.
Yes.
It's very uppermost in my mind.
Okay.
It's uppermost in my mind.
When you are talking about security, are you talking about safety of movement of freedom of movement
I am talking about entrenching a system that is easily triggered, that easily comes on when there's an infringement on the dignity, the personhood of the woman.
Thank you.
A system that supports. So a woman has the confidence that there is a system I can have resort to,
Okay.
and I can get the best out of this system. I believe the laxities in the system at the moment is if it's fueling these things we're seeing.
Yes.
Girl child molestation, defilement of young people, wife abuse, human trafficking. So the system must be in place. If I may digress a little, last week I was reading an article, a person had been groped on a flight, night flight in America.
Oh.
And immediately the system kicked in. And I said to myself, I hear of women being molested, abused, raped, and you go to the police station and you're made to look as though you brought on the crime on yourself. This is groping, which is at the lower level. And the system immediately kicks in and the person is picked up. And the investigation kicks in. I step forward, I make this report. And the questions I get asked, are you sure you didn't do this? Are you sure? And the attitude is pervasive. It goes all the way up to the way the defense counsel will handle a complainant in a rape case.
The permissiveness of malpractices against women is making it worse and worse. In fact, it's deteriorating. What about widows?
That's
The
exactly
cultural,
the point.
the cultural negatives against women. We should legislate against them.
Yes.
Don't you think so?
Definite
We have to.
legislation against inhuman
Yes.
widowhood rights,
Yes, we don't do right.
inheritance challenges
Yes.
for the girl child.
Yes.
And then the woman does not even have any access to her husband's property, considering that she is an active contributor
Okay.
to the overall welfare of the family.
Yes. Now we are here talking at the studio. My final question is, some women are hearing us. Don't you think that unless women rights groups get together to form a powerful coalition, we are likely to be wasting our efforts? We have to don't you think we need to form a powerful coalition?
We do.
Form a pressure group.
We do. Because a house divided against itself cannot stand.
Thank you. Is that what you say?
Yeah, voice
Chimene?
of Eve can be one of them.
Yes.
Yes, it's very necessary
Yeah,
to protect the interests of women.
and let all women come and air their voice, because
Yes.
this is our platform.
Yeah, because there is no other platform for them to air their views.
And I would want to add that at this point in time, there's something huge coming.
Yeah.
The national conference, be it sovereign or not.
Yes.
I would expect that at this point in time, first ladies of the various states in Nigeria, this is the time for us to gather the women together. Let us begin to discuss and articulate our views.
Yes.
Let us begin to even say, what do we want? This is a matter that is very, very, very dear to the soul of every woman.
Yes.
So I would think that this is a good opportunity for them to say, let us call the various interest groups.
Yes.
Let's sit down, articulate a position so that when the opportunity presents, we are ready.
We are ready.
And prepared. They see a group very ready and prepared. And that goes a long way.
Thank you.
That goes a long way.
That goes a long way. Thank God for the voice of Eve. Well, women out there, you have the voice of Eve, you should articulate. I think to cap it all, women should learn to articulate boldly and with clarity. Women should learn to state their views positively and assertively. And
Women should also learn to support themselves.
And women should learn
Because
to
when
support
criticism comes, it's women that actually bring it up.
And we have said it, and we have a platform in the Voice of Eve. Every woman out there, this is Voice of Eve. Come and talk.
Well, viewers, you have had it all. The women are simply awake.
to their interests this time around, because we are concerned with the welfare of the nation. Once it is well with women and our interests, it will be well with this nation. Please let us all join hands to make women included in what is going on. Thank you for watching. God bless you.